Hey y'all, getting geared up for our Big Bend trip coming up in November. I ordered a set of traction boards off Amazon. The downside is I didn't have anywhere to store it, so real quick, it's a do-it-yourself mount. I say real quick, I've been thinking on this for 2 days, but go through some of the gear, some of the materials list. I'm going to need two of these. It's 3/8 inch flat bar, perforated. I'm actually going to be cutting off, give or take about 14 inches, but there's only a couple ways to grab it. So I got two of those bars. I have some number 2 EMT hangers, simply because my bars are 1 inch. That's what it needs. So I've got 6 of those. 6 that I've already set up of fender washers, lock washers, and for my size, what I'm doing is a 3/8 by 3/4 bolt, and that's going to attach the EMT hanger to the perforated. That will then be moved over to, for the boards themselves, is 3/8 by 4 inch long bolts, fully threaded. That had a little bit of an issue trying to find fully threaded. And then from that, we're also going to have 8 more fender washers, a couple Nylon nuts, and then this is a 3/8 inch, see what they call it, 3/8 by 16, I guess a clamping knob, and that's just going to screw into the 4 inch bolts to clamp the tracks down. So from that, I'm going to go ahead, I did already waller out the EMT hanger to accept the 3/8 inch. So I already did that before I started the video. I'm going to end up cutting these off to the side. What I'm using is just a grinder. I'm going to have a cutting wheel. We'll grind it, make it look good, so it doesn't cut anything, because it does have sharp corners. So we'll do that, and then I'll put it together back on screen and we'll mount it up. Alright y'all, so I got the flat bar cut down to size. All I did was take one of the fender washers, figured out where I needed to be on my bars, and used the fender washer as a template to just kind of curve that edge out. I made it a little bit under the cut, so that I'll have the fender well being the outside edge. But before we get everything grinded down, obviously safety first. I say before because I caught myself as I was grinding the first one. So if you have one of these, nice and simple, just kind of get it tucked in. And all you're trying to do, it doesn't have to be pretty, just get it up there. So on with that, we'll swap over to some hyperlapse. I'm going to grind the second one out. You'll probably be back in 30 seconds. Down. So we're going to go ahead, we'll start attaching the EMT hangers to the rod, to the flat iron. So as I said, what we're going to end up with is you have a 3/8 by 3/4. I'm going to throw a lock washer in and try to get that centered. We've got a fender washer, so we've got a 1.5 inches that we're working with on that. We will then put in the EMT, and then I'm going to actually put a Nylon nut inside of that, simply because where these are going to be, it's not something that I can actually focus on it as it loosens, so I want as much locking as I can. I could just put Loctite in there, but I haven't. And these, between the EMT and the fender washer, that's where you're gonna have your flat iron. So as we throw those together, I'm gonna end up with, I have a front, center, and a rear bar. So I'm actually gonna attach all three to that, simply because this is 14 gauge and I'm a little worried about how flimsy it may be. If you can find some a little thicker, I would probably do that. You might have to swap this 3/4 to a 1 inch for the nut, for the bolt, but I think that would probably work a little easier or a little better. I just couldn't find it, so I went with what Lowe's had and just grabbed the 14 gauge. So I'm gonna throw both of these together and we'll be back. So we've got our EMT hangers attached. We're going to have to take, for this next part, we'll take our boards. I'm going to use one for the moment, and we're just going to lay it to see where the bolts need to sit at. For the length, it's not too bad. We're going to take our 4-inch bolts. We're going to sandwich fender washer on each side. I'm just lining it up with the center just to see where I need to be. Fender washer, and then we'll actually run our nylock all the way down. Again, we could have used, and we might just use the lock washers, just so that we don't have to fight that nylon all the way. I do have some extra lock washers here, so I'm actually going to sandwich on both, inside and outside, just to keep everything from backing out. I know it's overkill, but that's just the way I'm going to run it. And we do have 4 of these to do, so I'm going to cheat and use impact. So we'll get all 4 of these attached, and then the fun part will be attaching it underneath. I'm going to run it, my plan is to run it underneath my tent, and that way I can have it kind of protected from UV. I don't think there's that big of a deal as far as weakness. I have heard that they'll fade, and cosmetically, you know, is what it is. But these are going to get used and abused, hopefully. I say hopefully because I'm in Central, so it's not like I'm going to West Texas too much, and I'm not taking this off that far. But I just want to have that peace of mind to have, you know, $60, $70 cheap Amazon, and it worked pretty well, hopefully. I will go out there and actually try to test it, but for now we're just gonna get it mounted up. We'll have plenty of those videos coming up soon. Find my remote again. Like I said, I'm gonna attach all 4 of these. Give you an idea of what they look so far. It's gonna have my bed rack mounted in here, and then I'll just have my tracks sandwiched up, and that'll keep them out of the bed and keep them secure underneath. So that'll be how that'll go. I will show you again once I get that attached, and we'll obviously have it mounted. So, like I said earlier, super simple design-wise. Just EMT hanger went to the bolt, and that'll sit into your mounting hole on the actual track. I will say that on the second one, I did put the Nylon nut. I think it'll hold a lot better, but putting it on kind of sucked. But yeah, extra 30 seconds. I'll probably swap it out on the first one. What I did do cosmetically is, you'll see the EMT hanger is actually a carriage bolt. So it does have this square keyhole. There we go. Square keyhole here. This will keep my outside ones, my outside that everybody's gonna see, it will keep a flush carriage bolt rounded head. And I did the same on the opposite side. The one in the center, obviously, it has to be one way or the other. I'll probably put it facing backwards simply so that whenever I look at it, I see it as a flush head. But for the moment, I already see that I need to tighten this one up. But what we'll do is we'll just double check a few things on it, and then we will strap it up, and hopefully I have enough clearance here in that gap to handle that. I'll probably have to put a knuckle on my impact to get everything in there, but for the moment I'll just double check everything, make sure everything's tightened up, and then we'll get back to that. Alright, so I actually got it already up here above, but like I said, our last step was actually just mounting them to the rack. And then we've got these 3/8 clamp knobs, and there is a male version and a female version. We're using the female because we used post 4-inch, so we're able to have that just clamp these in. I've seen them on Amazon, etc., etc. I went to Lowe's. I think I paid like, I don't know, $2.50, $3 a piece for them. But like I said, it gets everything up above and kind of clears out my bed. I can put my cooler, my camp gear, and just have my recovery gear up above. As far as straps and such, I'll throw them in a Pelican case. They'll float around in the bed of the truck as well. But that's actually going to be it. I'll get the camera, kind of give you a better view of what we actually did and what the finished product looks like. All right, so this is the finished product. I did leave, I'm gonna try to do this without too much interruption. I did leave this side loose, and that is simply so that I can get everything in line the way I want it before I tighten everything up. Disregard my lights are all out of whack trying to make these adjustments. But as you can see, this will sit still a little, nope, no, you can't see. Let's see if I can rotate. All right, try this a little bit better. In here, you can see it's still flimsy here. That is simply because of that gauge. But we will see what I change. This is kind of a trial and error, I guess. It's all do it yourself. So be aware that whenever you crank these in, you do want a little bit of a gap. Otherwise, you're basically gonna deform your treads. Over time, it might change that a little bit. So we've got that, and I just left it kind of off center. It's centered with a little bit better with the tent, but not as centered with the rack. We'll probably make some adjustments over time, but that's pretty simple. I did also check in the future, be able to, if I get a second set and don't want to build the full rack, I can put one set, just one set of EMT on this outside, on the exterior of the rack, and that will hopefully hold it out a little bit further. It does sit right above my bed rail, and that'll also give me a little bit more of a, I don't know, a security feel as far as just being able to block off the sides of this bed. But for the moment, I do believe that's going to work, and we will test it all out. I'm going to let it ride for, like I said, I got about a month before my trip, so it's going to ride there for a little while, see how it loosens up, any changes I need to make as far as its attachment style, and we will hopefully have an update. As you can tell, my tent is offset. That's where my shower is going to end up here after I do some painting and all that fun stuff. But that's going to be it for this video. We'll see how long that lasted. I've also got to make some changes to a few other things before I get going. So anyway, do the like and subscribe thing, share it, and we'll hopefully see some differences.